Hello, everybody. This is Soviet Bear, and today we have Joaquin with me again. He's from Serbia, Belgrade. So, Joaquin, as we can see right now in the world politics, tensions are getting even more intense, and NATO is keeping pushing to the Russia's borders, and we see conflict in Ukraine can't cease, and the junta is not doesn't want peace, and the recent assassination of Russia's opposition politician Boris Nemtsov, I believe it was clearly a false flag to blame on Vladimir Putin. And also this the whole situation, it seems that NATO, the US, can't stop and doesn't want to stop this way. So do you think that NATO, the US, must suffer an ultimate devastating defeat, like Nazi Germany suffered in 1939, or nothing like Vietnam, because it only make US arms manufacturers richer. Maybe not one Vietnam, maybe a series of Vietnams all over the world. Do you think can it stop? Can it put the US politicians in their place?
Yeah, I think there's only really two scenarios right now that can stop the U.S. war machine. The whole American society is built on a model of making war. And so we are now in a situation where we can only really look at two really truly viable scenarios in which it can stop. I can tell you where it won't come from. It will not come from the democratic electoral processes. It will not come from a series of reforms. American people are not in control of their government. They would like to see radical changes made. I think that many Americans have a revolutionary spirit of different kinds. Some Americans look to their own revolution, 1776. Other Americans look to revolutions in other parts of the world in the last century. And I think that in either case, what you have is a tremendous revolutionary spirit, which a silent majority of Americans share, and is not expressed in the mainstream media. This is being really aptly suppressed. And so we can see now that we have only really two options, and one does not exclude the other. In fact, they may work together. In fact, I think that they must work together. A first problem is issue of there is no mechanism to make a change, and the United States war machine will not stop. So
Okay, so, but we do both realize that this is not World War III, this is not 1930s or 1940s, and both sides, they have devastating nukes, nuclear weapons, nuclear missiles with nuclear warheads. Both sides, both Russia and the US. We still have that SS-18 Satan, even though in 2018 we are going to replace this with new ballistic 100-ton ballistic missile. It's called Sarmat in Russian. I don't know how NATO is calling it. And we already have a submarine-based Bulavar missile, which is a very good rival to US Trident 2, and the Yars intercontinental ballistic missile, which is way better than Topol M, and it's going to be very hard for US missile defense shield to intercept them. But still, nobody wants nuclear war. Nobody wants nuclear winter. So, do you think this is somehow going to be just a conventional war, or because nobody wants devastation?
I think that when we look at issues of war, such as this, the nuclear option is not one that can be ruled out. There are different opinions about this, Yuri. There are people who say that the United States is planning for a nuclear war, that they think that they can win it, which is crazy. But we know that this is a view that people in the establishment have. There was, in the last year or two, an unprecedented number of terminations of high-ranking U.S. military personnel. It's the largest single sweeping change over in military leadership in the U.S. in many decades. There are many hypotheses about this, whether it is unrelated to issues of war per se, if it, what the scandal was, if they were connected. Of course, all of the higher-ranking generals are also stock owners in the private companies which produce the armaments, which means that it skews their analysis about which wars to fight and which wars are winnable. And it is, U.S. military machine, fortunately, is overrated. Fortunately, it is defeatable. People should not look at the dollar spent because it's not what other militaries look at. They look at what you get for the money, because U.S. military contract industrial sector is producing with non-competitive bid contracts. They inflate the prices, sometimes tenfold, sometimes 100-fold, sometimes 1,000-fold for certain things. So you can't look at military entity, or rather, is not as powerful as it is said to be. It can do a more than adequate job defending the borders of the United States. It cannot win a land war in Eurasia. And the thought that one could win a land war in Eurasia is not one that is popular in the U.S. among military circles. This is a matter of doctrine which has been inherited. So U.S. military, I think, is losing its capacity to project power, but that doesn't mean it won't cause more problems.
Okay, yeah, I have to agree with you because, regarding the fact that American military is overrated and overestimated, and there are a lot of people, American people, who are very, very arrogant, very brash, full of their bravado, that, oh, America, we have the most military budget. We will annihilate. We will take Moscow. We will send Putin to Hague and blah blah blah. It's kind of no. I perceive them as just trolls. People. A lot of people in history underestimated Russia, such as Napoleon, Hitler, Karl XII of Sweden, Frederick II of Prussia. All of those Western leaders, they were good, great Western leaders, but they underestimated Russia, they invaded Russia, and that was their ultimate undoing. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
there are good, in America, there are no idiots in the Pentagon, and such as General, for example, Dempsey, Martin Dempsey. He's a good analysis. His analysis are good, even though I don't respect him, you know. But that doesn't mean he's a bad military analyst. Well, what can you say? But military, but the politicians, there are hawks like John McCain who want to supply Ukraine with lethal weapons, and there are other hawks like, for example, I don't know. Okay, but Zbigniew Brzezinski, he's an architect of the U.S. current strategy. He is a staunch Russophobe, maybe as big as McCain, and he said that Ukraine must not fall into Russia's hands at all costs. So, what can you say?
Well, it's amazing that McCain has a platform. Really, it's only possible because Obama allows him to. So, it's first thing to understand about American diplomacy is that McCain has been given this strange unofficial position as basically John Kerry's twin, and it's an unofficial position. The things that he does and he goes around the world saying and doing are illegal by the U.S.'s own laws, which is not to say that the U.S. has great laws or that they care to enforce them, but as a matter of fact, they are. He cannot be running around making deals with terrorists. He cannot be making promises and commitments to opposition leaders. He, in his position as chairman of the Military Oversight Committee, Senate, they only really make reports and analyze things to the public and to the Congress about what the military is doing. It does not give. He's not a general. He's not an analyst. He's not a thinker, and he doesn't have any authority in that position. He wouldn't be doing it if Obama did not allow him to. Now with Dempsey, he is a thinking man. I would disagree that there are no idiots in the Pentagon. I think that, in fact, there are many idiots in the Pentagon. Dempsey's not one of them, but there are many.
Unlike most of American trolls on the internet, I tend not to underestimate our adversaries.
No, do not underestimate them. I'm just talking as a matter of point about the majority of the functionaries in the Pentagon are idiots. What has happened and why the United States has really begun to lose a strategic efficacy, why they have really lost the edge, is because in American culture they have been promoting people for the wrong reasons. They've been promoting people who make their boss look good, and not people who do the job right. And there's a big difference between making your boss look good and doing the job right. So we have a yes man culture, and the United States, unfortunately, in its own history, is a lot of how to say this politely. Is actually very phenotype obsessed culture, and what it has done is that it has promoted people into position of power based upon the color of their eyes. I shit you not, on the color of their eyes and their height, and heightism and complexionism are really big factors in the U.S. So if you're a tall guy with blue eyes, then you can promote through the ranks. And it has nothing to do with your ability to do quantitative analysis, military science. The schools are not difficult in the U.S., just so you know. You can breeze through Annapolis, you can breeze through West Point. It's nothing like this studying that students do in Europe or in Russia, where people study for months and months and months for a single exam and then take 10 more just like it. U.S. is very easy schools.
Yeah, okay, very easy. But I'm not saying that the very easy schools are not good, you know. Uh, you know, when I was at school, I was always dream about, you know, the program should be more easy, and I should only study the things that I want or I'm good at. But then but then I realized that no, the man, he must be developed in many facets, you know. He knows, he must be not just a good mathematician, for example, or physician. He also has to know literature, to read, to know history, because you know it is much better individual when he is or she is developed in many facets.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a view of education, which I agree with. The U.S. On paper subscribes to that view as well, but in fact, by the time a student graduates from high school, they are only at the same place that a 14-year-old is in Europe and Russia in their studies. So they're 4 or 5 years behind. So American college or university is the equivalent of Russian or European high school or secondary school, and so this is the main problem. Now, but in the America is also an anti-intellectual culture. So people with who have different views or who challenge dominant paradigms are shut down, and because of the race caste class system in the United States, basically very unstable, and so they've had to promote people based upon their ability to conform and not by their ability to think outside the box. This is in the U.S. military, and so there are certain types of creativity that are permitted, technological creativity and so on and so forth, but broad paradigmatic creativity, or for example, to re-understand what power is, or to completely assess the nature of power and what the mission of the U.S. is not something which is explored in the U.S. at all, in the ruling circles, and not in the military sciences. So that's one of the other issues. So United States, to summarize, in the ruling class does not have the attitude, does not have the right outlook on the world to be able to save itself. The people must break out of this illusion that some democratic process of reforms is possible, and they keep getting trolled by this. They continue to believe that such a thing is possible. History shows that it's not. In the U.S., elections are rigged, and it doesn't change the nature of the deep state. It doesn't undermine the intelligence. You still have the military. So anything radical that even could possibly happen in the United States, it would be a military junta, assume power under constitutional norms. Bush actually signed this into law. I think it was National Security Memorandum 51 or 52. He signed it in 2005 or 2006. People can look that up. Can give me the details in the comments below. People will remember that Bush signed this. It's called the continuity of government, which is sort of Orwellian, because it's about not continuing the government but instituting military rule. So that's the situation. The U.S., there are many contingency plans set up to deal with the people. Nothing should be considered too crazy to consider. They do have concentration camps built to accommodate many, many people. We saw how the catastrophe in Katrina in Louisiana was handled. So we can see already that the United States does not care about its own people, the government, that is. So this is what we're dealing with. It's if you want to see how the United States is not helping anywhere else in the world, just look at how it deals with its own people. I mean, the police are killing people all the time. They have the largest number of people per capita in prison in the world, among the largest prison populations.
And private prisons, you know, this is American version of gulags. America has as many or even more gulags, labor camps, than the Soviet Union had under Stalin.
Right, that's right. And something also that's interesting, in the United States, this is a more advanced form of a gulag system. Well, even the gulags, actually, there were some gulags that were more like communities that, I'm not trying to romanticize these horrible places to be, but people lived in little cabins, and they basically, what kept them in prison was the vastness of Siberia, but not like actual walls and cells. I mean, there were those too for some, but they were basically like separate communities that were in the wild, and that's why many people could escape from gulags as well.
America is also a vast country, you know, the deserts of Nevada, Arizona, Texas.
Yes, but they don't have the camps. They don't have communities like Siberia, like the gulags, where you lived in little cabins and worked and then had a place that you slept and stuff. It's like they're prisons, you know. It's not, gulags are more like camps. But American labor camps are actually just prison industrial systems, and it's free labor. And they're producing things. Most of the people, when you in the United States, when you call customer service, if you're not talking to somebody from India, if they are from the U.S., I can guarantee you they're in prison somewhere. And I encourage Americans, the next time you call a repair or 800 customer service number and you're talking to an American, politely ask them where they're incarcerated. They'll say, "Oh, sorry, sorry, sir, we can't talk about that subject." You'll see. And it is disgusting. It's not a viable system. It goes against the essence of what it means to be a human being, and it will only come apart a combination of a series of many Vietnams. I say one, two, three, many Vietnams, in combination with the military rank and file needs to rise up against the military leadership. I hope to see some defections wherever possible at the higher up, but I doubt that at the present time. And likewise, the people must make a popular revolution. And in order to do that, it will be very difficult because of the ideological divisions between revolutionary groups in the U.S.
Okay. So, you know, there is this guy on YouTube. I like his videos very much. I'm gonna place link in the description of this video to his channel. This guy is called X22 Report. He posts 40-30 minutes long videos every day on his channel, and he talks mostly about the U.S. economic collapse. You know, that the manufacturing in US is collapsing, the Baltic Dry Index hit record low, even lower than in 1980s when it was the lowest Baltic Dry Index, if you know what that is. Okay,
Yes.
so and he talks about it every single day on his channel. But it seems to me that America will not collapse soon. Maybe not maybe not even this decade. What do you think about it?
Well, I think the future is unwritten. Look, if the United States could easily break its back in Ukraine, if it pushes the envelope, it has a lot of resources stored up that it can throw. It has a lot of military equipment that it could throw at Ukraine, but it has been explained that Ukrainians don't have the willpower, the wherewithal, or the training to operate all of this equipment. And so you get back down to the U.S. military. Morale is very, very low.
Yeah,
morale is very low.
Sorry for interrupting you. And I don't think the U.S. will send any of most advanced or any of the latest of their equipment to Ukraine, simply because because you see
It will
how
get captured.
they will get captured. And you know, a lot of Russian scientists would like to study some of their secrets.
Right.
Give us some secrets to study, please. We need
Yeah,
more.
they just send it on in. Right. No, it's embarrassing what happened with...
Because next day they're going to be in the Novorossiya hands, and after they are in the Novorossiya hands, they're going to be shipped in Russia immediately.
Immediately. Well, we remember a couple years ago when the American top secret drone got downed.
In Iran?
The Iranians were able to jam its signal and down it, and then they reverse engineered it, and now Iran has drones.
Yeah.
So it's the same principle at work here. I think that
yeah, in the same thing happened in Georgia. When Russian soldiers captured two American Humvees with state-of-the-art electronic equipment, and after that, Russian military communications, all of the communication of Russian military staff undergone a good reform, a cycle of good reforms.
Yes, no, and so what it really comes down to is economic collapse. Look, this is a concept which is often misunderstood, I think, because what you're talking about is ultimately one thing, is the U.S. ability to project military power. If the U.S. cannot project, the U.S. economy is based upon basically bullying countries into accepting bad deals, right, militarily.
Accepting the dollar, and to sell all of the oil for dollars, all of the gas for dollars.
The military is the guarantor of the petrodollar, and without the military, they don't have anything. And the main issue, I mean, look, there is a lot of industry inside the United States which can meet the needs of production and consumption internally. The United States could definitely be wound down without a major impact on the quality of life for many Americans, which is also already very low. So the main thing also is that the ruling class can make a lot of money on things going to shit. So they see it like, oh, well, if things go to shit, we make money, and if things do well, we make money. the problem is that their ability to be relevant is a military issue, and the people, their ability to make money or enslave the people inside the United States is based upon the consent of the Americans, and as they begin to break out of this media bubble, as they begin to unplug from the mainstream media, then you will see these actions become more militant. I think that we have moved past the protest phase, the protest marches. These are useless. These are a waste of time, and they give people a false sense of accomplishment. And protest culture doesn't accomplish anything. In fact, the whole thing is a psychological operation that was promoted in the 1960s because it precisely does not challenge authority. In fact, protesting doesn't seem to, a march, in what way does a march do anything? It can be a great part of a propaganda piece if the multipolar powers, if the anti-imperialist powers were going to help to try to effect a transition of power inside the United States, then of course the media footage of a protest march could help to justify that in the terms of mass psychology. But as an actual mechanism directly, it serves no purpose. People need to actually think about how they're going to break away from the economy, not look at a society of scale, but how the United States will disintegrate and how people can make functioning smaller communities that are independent and sovereign as different parts of the United States break apart.
Okay. So